If you're using a stationary bike to help reduce knee pain, I've got 5 really important tips that you've got to follow to make sure your knee pain doesn't get worse. Hey, I'm Coach Todd with FeelGoodLife.com, where we teach people over 50 how to get healthy, pain-free joints. In today's video, if you're using a stationary bike, well, I want to teach you 5 simple things that you really have to follow to make sure your knee pain doesn't get worse. So I often recommend stationary bikes if you have one to help reduce knee pain, but you really have to follow some simple tips when you're using a stationary bike. So let's go ahead and get started. The first tip that you've got to follow is you use a low to moderate speed. So you don't want to start off too fast. Just go slowly. You want to ease your muscles and ligaments and tendons into the exercise, especially if you haven't done it very often as part of your knee rehab routine. So that's tip number 1, is to start off slowly. The tip number 2 is to use proper form. And I've got some specific advice for you here. So pretend I'm on my exercise bike. I could be on a stationary upright bike, or I could be on a recumbent bike, which if you have knee pain, I often recommend a recumbent bike even more. It's going to put a little bit less pressure, a little bit more comfortable, especially for people over 50. And but when you're on your bike, what you want to make sure you're doing is not extending your knee too far and not flexing your knee too far. So when you sit into the bike, you want to place the pedal square on your foot. You don't want it too far up. You don't want it too far on your heel. You want it square right on your foot. And when you press to make sure and adjust the seat so you're not extending the knee all the way like this. You come just before that extension. And then when you're coming back, you want to make sure you get to the point where your knee is about 90 degrees, right? And your hip is about 90 degrees. So think about 90 degrees angles. Angles are a really good line to follow. If your hip is coming up further and your knee is coming at a tighter degree angle than 90 degrees, well, then that's too far. That's going to be putting a lot of pressure on your knee. So make sure you're adjusting your seat so you're not getting that full extension. You're getting slightly before full extension, so you're not putting too much pressure on that knee. And then make sure you're stopping before that 90-degree angle gets even tighter. So that's tip number 2. The second one is to use low or no resistance at first, right? You're not looking to build, leg muscles like Arnold. You're looking to rehab your knees. And so I typically recommend starting off with no resistance, right? The old adage of motion is lotion with the knees is so important. You don't need a lot of resistance or even any resistance. So you can build up the resistance over time, but just start off using low or no resistance. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is similar, but it's start gradually. So if you are, say you're really excited to use a stationary bike and you jump on it for 30 minutes at a time, you may really feel that in your knees the next day or even at that night, right? Because you really pushed your knees and your leg muscles too hard. So I often recommend just 5 minutes at first, right? With no resistance, going slowly. And what you're going to be doing is getting your muscles and ligaments and tendons used to the exercise and building up that internal strength of the ligaments and tendons, and so that you can build up the duration over a period of time. So I typically recommend, 5 minutes, 3 times a week. Then you could increase that to 7 or 8 or even 10 minutes that second week and just build up slowly from there. So last key point I want to make is use it to complement a routine. So you don't want to use it just as a standalone, right? There's exercises designed specifically to help strengthen the muscles and ligaments and tendons of the knee, especially isometrics. And so we've got a lot of really good free exercises right here on this YouTube channel. If you go ahead and you can click this button here or search 3 exercises that you can do for knees from bed, then that exercise or that video should pop up. But I highly recommend complementing stationary bike with specific exercises for the knees because those exercises will help realign the knees and build the strength and reduce inflammation so that you can get back on your feet faster. So those are the 5 key tips. Make sure you're following those when you're using a stationary bike, especially if you're using it to reduce knee pain. So thanks so much for joining. If you've got any questions, go ahead and there's a comment section. You can go ahead and scroll down to the comment section. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button so you'll be alerted every time we release a new video. Thanks so much for joining me. My name is Coach Todd at Feel Good Life, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.